Welcome, everybody, to the Living Consciously television show coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado studios. I'm your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and we are also live, of course, on YouTube Live as well as on Hangouts and at consciousevolutionmedia.com. Our theme tonight is Why So Many Relationships Fail, and we have Lisa Dwoskin joining us from the East Coast with us this evening. Having a great dialogue with us about relationships, and that's one of my favorite subjects. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you. Hi, how are you?
Hi, really good. Welcome. And let me introduce you to our cast as well. We have right next to Lisa, Nina de Rosa, joining us from that place where the lights never go out. And we learned many, many shows ago that Nina doesn't go out either.
I do go out, my light doesn't go out.
I can't give it up.
I'm just warning nobody, come and move to Vegas. It's great here, it's fabulous.
Awesome.
Good to be with you. Good to be with you, Lisa.
Hi, how are you? I see your pictures all over Facebook. I love them. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And she's only 39.
I'm holding. Oh, Steve.
And let me welcome Rosie Kuhn next to Nina there on the right. She's joining us from Washington, where Jimi Hendrix was born, and that's all I care about. Well, one of the greatest musicians of all time. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right, and we have this great theme this evening: why so many relationships fail. And my opening question is, of course, to Lisa, our guest. What is your experience in terms of what is maybe the biggest top 3 reason why relationships fail?
Top 3. Okay, the top 1 for sure I would say is self-love. People don't love themselves enough, and therefore they can't love others. That's for sure. So that would be definitely number 1.
Number 1. Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I think people are very selfish and they don't love unconditionally. And of course, we'll talk about unconditional love because it's impossible to love completely unconditionally when you're in a relationship, or near to impossible. But I would say that's very difficult for people to do. And the third one, I think, is just instant gratification, or when things get hard, people just want to escape and go elsewhere for instant gratification instead of working hard on the relationship to make it work. That's what I would say my top 3 would be. What do you guys think?
Oh, I agree with the last one you just said. I think marriage is a working hobby.
Yeah.
You have to work at marriage all the time. And, you know, it's funny you say it doesn't work, and you're putting 2 people together that really don't know each other. And all of a sudden we have this sexual thing going on, because that's normally the first thing that happens. And then after a couple of years, that kind of subsides a little bit, and other things poke in. And I don't think we give it enough time to actually look at who that other person is. And in this day and age, whether it's a man or a woman, it's either way, doesn't make any difference. But I don't think we give it enough time, or give them enough time, your partner or whomever it's going to be, enough time. I don't think you give yourself enough time to understand them and jump at things that are really not there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I think, too, that it's a matter of the distinction between compatibility and love. That we can love somebody, but we don't take into consideration our different styles of being, different styles of communicating, our different wants and needs that make us perhaps incompatible. And I may love you, but we're not compatible to live with. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a huge piece that we don't take into consideration. It's more like love heals all, and love conquers all. And so that means if we have compatibility issues, somehow we'll get through it if we love enough.
But that's huge. That is not so.
No.
That's not so.
No.
That's so.
I think people are looking for the other person to bring happiness to themselves. And that's why I go back to the number one reason I feel that relationship fails is that they don't love themselves enough and they're looking for love in the other person and happiness. And if they're not happy within and don't love themselves, how can they find it in someone else? It's impossible. I think
Or in anything else, anything. It
anything.
applies to anything. If you're not centered with yourself and together with whom you are and what you are and be proud of who you are, that's all you've got. You can't really change it. What you've
Right.
got is what you got. So now deal with it.
Right, exactly.
So Lisa, what's your message, in terms of what is it you want people to know in terms of your message?
Okay, well, I'm starting my second book, which I'm almost done with my second book. My first book was about the transformation of mind, body, spirit, metamorphosize, we talked about before. This book is about spiritual love and soulmate love and loving unconditionally and finding somebody that you're compatible with, like what you were talking about, Rosie, and also not settling and not just being okay with being comfortable with whom you're with, waiting for the right one. And because I truly believe in true love, and I think too many people out there have given up on true love because they don't believe in the fairy tale, and I don't think it is a fairy tale. My message to the people out there is true love out there, but it takes hard work, it takes self-love, and it does exist. That's what I want to try to get out to the people.
So
Excellent.
I hate to do this, but I must.
Oh, go ahead.
I respectfully must disagree with you on a number of things.
Okay, go
But
ahead.
we can still love each other. We can still love each other, right?
Right, of
Yes.
course.
I mean, I still will love you for sure. So the
Oh,
first thing I'm going to disagree with you on is the selfishness part.
okay.
I don't believe that being selfish is a wrong thing. I think in order for us to love ourselves 100% and learn how to do that, we have to be selfish. It doesn't exist without being selfish,
Right.
or it can exist. And then I'm going to also disagree with you on another part, which you said that, well, love, I don't think it has to be hard at all. It can be very easy, and I don't think we even need to work on it, because if we have to work on it, there is something off, at least for me. And I'm experiencing that people have this this thing I would want to call a desire to be in a relationship, and then what I'm noticing is that then we as fast as we can move away from that desire, and almost
Right.
like we do the opposite of what that desire is. We are turning away, and our backs happen to be going towards the desire instead of us running towards it and making that gap as small as possible.
Right.
What do
I
you
agree
think
with
about
you. Yeah, I agree with you, Steve, about there is definitely love out there. I had a husband and I was totally in love with him. So there's definitely love, and it's something you don't. If you have to make it happen, if you have to make it love, it's not going to work. But if you have the natural love of each people, and it could be anything. It doesn't have to be always kissing and cuddling and loving. It could be by doing something or by having something or saying something. It's love comes in so many different forms between a man and a woman. And I think that I think if you have to try to manifest love, I don't think that's going to work, personally.
I feel that we attract it based on who we are being. We attract who we are being. We're in every moment in our lives. I feel that we're putting orders out to the universe, what it is that we desire, and we're gonna get back if it's the desire that we want, and we're walking towards that desire. That's what we're gonna get. If we're moving away from that desire, we're gonna get that.
Right. Well, A couple of things. Okay, getting back to about being selfish. I agree with you on people need to be selfish to love themselves. What I meant is that when people are in a relationship and they become selfish, they don't want to work towards the relationship. They just want to think about themselves and instant gratification and go out and flirt with the next woman or the next man and just start being selfish and not working and growing together. That's what I meant. So I agree with you on that point about being selfish to love yourself. I totally agree. Now, about the manifesting love into your life, I agree with you 100%. The problem is too many people out there do not know how to manifest the love because they don't even know what love they're looking for because they don't love themselves. A lot of people that aren't consciously aware the way that we are. And I think that what happens is they become lonely, they don't love themselves, and they settle in a relationship that isn't good for them because they want to just settle with whatever's comfortable and not get out of their comfort zone. So
but in a way, Lisa, I think they're in a bad relationship because they're moving away from their desire and they're getting exactly what they're asking for.
Yeah, well,
A
it could be.
relationship that isn't working.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's true. But
you're
it could
right.
be a so-so relationship where it works, but it's not really what they're desiring in their soul because they're not in touch with their soul. So they just stay on that surface level of whatever's working at the time that they're in it. But you're right, it'll come to an end eventually if they raise their level of conscious awareness, hopefully. They do so.
But that's
And
Quite
what
it's
I
often.
funny to me. It's funny to me because we do the opposite of what we should be doing. It's like,
Hmm.
for me, love is what I always have been looking for myself and for others.
have you
Hmm.
And
found yours, Steve? Have you found love for yourself?
yes,
Oh, good, good.
yes,
Ah.
and it doesn't depend on another person.
No, that's what
And
I mean. You
and
love yourself now.
yes,
Good.
and what's interesting is that I'm having just a gut feeling, just an intuition that's what everybody wants, even if they don't say it. That's what they
Yeah.
want. They want to
Hmm.
be loved. They came here because they want to experience it. And
Hmm.
and interestingly, everybody, it's almost like not everybody, but a lot of people are running from it. Like they afraid of love. How straight to me that is so strange. And then people are in these relationships where, I mean, I have friends tell me that they're in these relationships and they tell me where it hurts. They are crying constantly. They are being abused physically or psychologically. And
Hmm.
and I'm saying, well, those are the ones you need to run from.
Yeah,
Why
because
aren't you
they're
running?
afraid. Well, everything they do, they're afraid of, and being afraid, especially afraid of yourself. But if you've had it drilled into you so much that there is no
Hmm.
love out there, then how can you receive it? You're afraid. Even if you do, you're afraid that something's going to happen. You've always got it in the back of your mind, and this really comes, and I hate to say it, but it comes from childhood. This
Yeah.
comes from a lot of this comes from childhood, from 5 years and under. And you can actually see it how a lot of, when I say women, how a lot of women treat their children, and you can actually see it and you think to yourself, well, why are you like that to your child? Because that's going to indent into that child's mind, and they're going to grow up with that, always that fear of taking that extra step to fall in love because they're going to be rejected. So I
Yeah,
Hmm.
think
I
it's,
agree with you, Nina, in a sense that that the relationships we have with others as children reflect either, I mean, in terms of our interpretation as kids, that we're lovable or we're not lovable.
mhm.
And so many of us get the message that we're not lovable unless we show up in a particular package or with particular assets and things like that. And so we go into the world, into adolescence and even adulthood, saying, I'm not lovable, and so I better do whatever I can to find someone who will love me. So that whole element is all fear-based and not love-based. And so we then are in relationship with people trying to learn to be loved and love when we don't really have the strong foundation of knowing what it's
Correct.
like to be
Mhm.
loved
Right.
and to experience it from within. So we continue to try to practice it with other people, but really we don't have any foundation for that real true sense of what is self-love, as opposed to we don't have it, but we don't have it, and we all need it, and we hear that all the time. But how do we cultivate it? How do we
get past that? How do we get past that fear? How do we get? Well,
that's right.
Maybe we should talk about what that is. What is really
well, Lisa, you said that at the very beginning.
Well, and it goes back to loving yourself, letting go of your fear, listening to your intuition, getting in touch with yourself. We talked last time about meditating, self-love, self-worth, self-esteem. But Rosie, one point that you brought up that I really love what you just said. Each relationship that we're in teaches us something. And there's so many women and men out there who don't, like what you said, Steve, they're afraid to even get into a relationship. They say they're going to work on themselves, and once they love themselves, then they'll get in a relationship. But what I've learned through writing my book and experience after my divorce 3 years ago is that every relationship we're in teaches us something to get us to the point that we need to be to find the one and find true love and love ourselves. And even if it's not the best relationship, it teaches us something. So every relationship is a growing experience, and we shouldn't avoid relationships. We should definitely have relationships to learn how to love ourselves and grow within ourselves.
Lisa, why did you get divorced, and what was your reasons for divorce?
My husband and I were so different, and we had 4 separations, and we love each other dearly. He's here today. He's the one who hooked up the computer for me. We get along great. But as far as husband and wife, we just couldn't make it work. He was a Marine. He's very black and white, like a drill sergeant kind of. It works for him. I'm a free spirit, and we're total opposites. So we have 2 beautiful children. And to answer your question, I really don't know why it didn't work. I just know it didn't. And I'm learning and growing about myself, and I've had maybe 1 other relationship since I've split up with my husband, and right now I'm single, alone, and happy. And I'm open to wanting to meet somebody, but I'm also not ready to settle into something that's just comfortable, because I could have done that many times, and I'm focused on my career, on loving myself, and I'm not worrying about it. And that's another topic I'd like to talk about. So many of my single friends are on all these dating websites, and they're serial daters going on 20 dates a month, and they're so neurotic about it that they're never going to meet someone. Me, I just let it go, let the God, the universe. I know it'll happen when I'm ready for it to happen.
That's funny, because I'm lucky if I get through 1 date with 1 man. If they get into the second date is normally a total disaster.
Oh, no.
Thinking to myself, I wish I hadn't made the second date, but I made it, and I was nice, and I was as nice as I could be. But I find it very, very difficult. After my last husband, he passed away, and I had such a great relationship there. And I hate to say comparing. I'm not really comparing. It's just that you get so used to different ways. Like growing up as a child, you get used to ways. We're married, married 29 years. And you get used to that way. But I do have 1 person in the wings, and he's so far passing quite a few.
He passed the second date. He passed the second
date.
That's good.
I like what you're saying, Nina, and I think that this is really, really important, is that in terms of self-love, there's 2 things I want to say. One is that when we're single or when we're not in relationship, we start to learn our preferences. We start to learn what we like, what we don't like, and we need to learn to trust ourselves, because that's the key to self-appreciation and self-respect, self-honor, and self-love is trusting ourselves.
But it's okay.
It's not only okay, it's imperative that we trust ourselves. What we do quite often is we want to trust other people to take care of us, because it's an incredible responsibility to take care of ourselves. And it's better that, it's better, not really, but it's like I would rather have somebody in my life where I can trust them to take care of me, and then I don't have to carry that responsibility. And that's part of the challenge of being in a healthy relationship is I need to be responsible for my feelings, my thoughts, my thinking, and my actions, and my partner has to be that too. If I'm leaning too much on him or he's leaning, then I start to blame and shame, and it's his fault I'm not happy. It's like
and it's always somebody else's fault not happy because you never blame yourself.
That's right. So that part of taking responsibility is key to not only healthy relationships with others, but healthy relationship with self. And the other piece I wanted to say about that is getting to self-love starts. This is my pattern, which is you start with self-acknowledging, like, what do I like myself about? What works for me? And saying those things. Then there's self-appreciation. What do I appreciate myself for? Then there's self-respect. What do I respect myself for? Now, how many people actually ask themselves that question? How do I respect myself? In what ways do I act respecting towards me? And then there's self-honoring. How do I honor myself? In what ways do I honor myself? And for what? And in those ways, we start to grow that capacity to know what that self-love is. But if we don't start with self-acknowledgement, self-respect, self-appreciation, self-honoring, we have no clue. And all of those things are so important when we love other people as well. Those people we love, whether they're our children, our parents, our partners, those things, those ingredients are so important and so crucial to every relationship. Sorry to jump in and be so...
No, you're wonderful, wonderful. Lisa, why do so many people don't kind of sort of believe in themselves, and we're always knocking ourselves so many times about, things we do, and we're not good enough, or we're not this, and we're not that. Why do we do that when basically all we're trying to do is find love? Everybody in the entire world wants to be loved. The cats, the dogs, everybody wants to be loved. And yet we fight that. Why do we do that?
Because we don't love ourselves enough. We do on this show. I know I do. I know I love myself very much, but it's taken time. But I think that's the problem. People don't love themselves enough, and that's why they beat themselves up about, and what Rosie was talking about, childhood baggage from childhood, not letting go of the past, constantly worrying about the future, not living in the moment, the here and now, is why we're constantly beating ourselves up. But a thing I want to point on what Rosie was saying, self-honoring and self-respect is everything, and that is really to answer the question why I wrote this book. I'm in my early 40s, and the people around me who are single out there dating, it's disgusting, the values and the morals that the people out there have. The majority, I hate to say it, are either swingers, or they have no commitments with people, or they're casual dating. And it really bothers me because I'm an old soul, and I believe in one man and one woman being faithful, being in love. I can't even believe it. Disgusts me what's out there, and I debate with people about it all the time. I'm worrying about my children and my future to find a man that feels the same way as me. I want to hear your thoughts about commitment and being with one person and not an open relationship. Isn't it crazy how the people are nowadays?
Oh, absolutely crazy. And they don't care. They think it's very, very normal to be like that. I've never done that. I'm a one-woman person. I was with my husband 29 years. There was never anybody, nobody at all around. But that was just, for me, that's what I did. But a lot of people don't do that. And I look at it, and I would be afraid to catch diseases and all sorts of crazy stuff. Never mind, ruining my brain and my body.
Right.
I would be too much of afraid of that, but I wouldn't like that anyway. But I think a lot of us I think we give up. I think this is the problem. And when you give up, you're not going to find anyone.
No, and the truth is,
the partner can read through you, and the partner will know that there's a problem there. They will see that. People see what's in you. People see that. I don't think we think people do, but they do.
And just one last thing I want to say is about this. Are those people really happy? Really? In
No.
the end, when you're ready to go to the pearly white gates and you're 90 years old, God bless, I hope we all are, it really, what's important, loving yourself and loving another and sharing a beautiful love between two people. Is there anything better than that?
No,
Really?
but I don't know about the pearly white gates. I don't think some of them are going to be going through those pearly white gates.
Yeah, right.
I think that the two things that you've said, one is that the instant gratification
Right.
has become so, it's in a sense, it's the addiction.
Um,
Because in essence, growing of any sorts, especially spiritual growing, generally requires pain, growing pains, okay, growing
right.
pains, and discomfort. And people are just not wanting to feel the discomfort of their humanness.
Exactly.
And so it's too scary, it's too vulnerable. And again, we haven't been given the tools as children to understand growing pains as literally that. I've written a book called Cultivating Spirituality in Children: 101 Ways to Make Every Child's Spirit Soar, and the essence is we have to practice as grown-ups. We have to practice before we preach and tell the children. We have to actually be that which we want our children to become, and that requires our ability, our capacity to be with discomfort as we grow and change, and be with our woundings from our childhood, those kinds of things. But because it's so scary, we go for instant gratification, whether it's sex, love, food, retail, electronics, whatever it is that's going to keep me from feeling any discomfort. In the recovery field, they call it restless, irritable discontent. And that's, I think, what we're seeing is this lack of capacity to actually be with our growing pains.
Right.
Yeah, because you've had so many marriages that are broken up, and the younger generation has seen all this. They've seen the arguments, they've seen the problems, they've seen everything. So they're now coming into the world of 25, 30, and they don't know where to go, where to find love. How do you find love? What is love? I mean, I've been through so many, I've seen so many, divorces and separations, and the children are always the ones that feel the brunt of it. They feel it. They feel, because they feel the pain more than anybody else because they don't understand it.
Right.
We have all these, much like what you're bringing into the world, Lisa. You're bringing in these self-help books that support individuals in growing in their capacity to self-love and love other people. And again, there's so many of wise, incredible books out there and teachers. And for anybody to take it on as a practice, again, requires that level of attention and discipline, and sometimes that discomfort that comes with the growing pains and the scariness of not knowing what's going to happen. And so we have all the self-help and all the therapists and life coaches and ministers out there that are here to support. And what's keeping people from actually, using that wisdom that's in the world already?
Steve, where are you, Steve?
I know. I want to hear a man's
Steve,
point.
the only man in the group.
Let's hear a male's
to us
point of
women.
view. I know, right? Let's talk about commitment. One man, one woman. What do you think?
Can that be two women or two men too?
I think every time that we get into a conversation where it has to be the way I think it has to be, that's a dangerous slope to travel on.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't travel on it because who am I to say that the way it has to be is between a man and a woman and there should be only one? Every time I experience something like that, usually that involves some kind of a cult, or it involves some kind of a religion, or something that humanity happens to create. So I prefer to let room and be it what life is and how it unfolds. It's not my job to figure out what is the right thing for people. It's my job to figure out for myself.
Right, I agree, and everyone should make their own choices, every couple. And definitely if it's two women, two men, of course. I think it's beautiful. Any kind of love is beautiful. But I agree with you. Everyone should make up their own rules. But I'm sorry, did I cut you off, Steve? Were you saying something else?
Well, there was something else that I wanted to add to a previous conversation, which I think, I asked you the top three things. And there is a fourth one, I think that's a huge one that's responsible for relationships not working out. And what that is when, and I've been in a few of these relationships myself, when people get into a relationship and what it becomes about is that I'm going to change the other person.
Yeah.
As soon as that other person really shapes up and starts being and acting the way I want them to be, everything will be fine and I'll be happy. Well,
Wrong. And that goes back again to self-love, because if one loves themselves, they're not going to want to change the other. They should accept the other for whom they are. And it should be two people who become whole and love themselves coming together to make their lives better, not to change each other or make things more complicated.
Because adding to your life is like adding another person to your life that sort of doesn't have to agree with you all the time. You can still have conversations. You can still have sort of your own opinions, but I think they have to be definitely compatible. That's the whole idea of two people together to make something stronger and bigger and better, and that beautiful love. And it's few and far between these days.
For sure. And
Go ahead, Lisa.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. So the thing is, I've been thinking about this just because I've been writing about children's and parenting and all of that, and it's like we want our children to be a certain way, just like we want our partners to be a certain way. So we don't have to change. So we don't have to be with the discomfort. We don't have to be responsible for our own emotional well-being. We want other people to do that for us, and it just made me laugh to think. I mean, I got married for in the same way, Steve, of I'll just change this person to be the person that I will love, as opposed to I don't even like this guy, but he married me, so that's a good thing. I at least have that. Excuse me.
But don't you think this kind of goes back to what I was describing earlier, which is in every relationship, well, not necessarily every, but the ones that I've been in, it always started out with me falling in love with somebody, and that's a wonderful feeling. And I know all of you know what that's like, and my life is becoming like that more and more every day. And I'm not even with a partner, an intimate partner right now. But
yes, that's wonderful.
It's interesting because most people, and including myself, I was able to maintain that kind of love for only maybe 6 months or a year, where everything disappeared. There were no problems in the world. There were no hunger. There were no politics. I didn't notice any of it. It's like it all went away. All there was is this beautiful feeling. I can't even describe it with words because they're not describable by what I was feeling. But it was like I was like high on love all the time. It's like I just wanted to be with this person. Everything I adored about this person. And then it's interesting that then something happens, and when that something happens, it's almost like we awake from this dream, from this illusion, and then reality sets in, and all of a sudden we start seeing things in the other person that we don't like. And the truth for me is that what we start noticing is what we don't like about ourselves. And it's not them that need to be fixed. It's us that need to be fixed. And it's even the wrong word, because I don't mean fixed. What I mean is
a mirror.
All we have to do is pay attention to what we're saying, what we're talking about, where we're focusing. So if we're focusing on what we don't like in somebody, guess what? We're going to get more of that. So what did just happen? We just turned our back to love, to our desire, and we're walking the opposite direction. Why? Why are we doing that?
Because we're afraid to face the fears that are smacking us in the face about ourselves. Exactly what you just said. Now, in my book, I talk a lot about twin flames and soulmates. Are you guys familiar with the definition about twin flames?
No, soulmates, yes, but not twin flames. That's a
Okay,
new one.
Enlighten us.
okay. So it's very deep process to explain, but on just a very surface
Now,
level,
I've
twin.
got time.
So twin flames are when you're two bodies and two people, but with one soul. And when you're born, you are one soul, and then you split. So you become two people with the same soul split in half, and you live your life. And of course, we can get very deep into reincarnations and past lives and stuff like that. But at one point in your life, some of us get back with our twin flame, which is the other half of our soul. And the point of why I'm bringing this up, and it's a little bit to do with soulmates as well, they bring to you like a mirror. And what you're saying, Steve, is that whenever you see what your issues are, and Rosie, you were bringing this up too, about the fears within you, that we don't want to face those fears. But in some particular relationships that are put on our path, whether it be a soulmate, a twin flame, or just any relationship, it is for you to see in the mirror of yourself what is wrong and what you need to fix, and how you need to grow. And getting back to what you asked me about, why did my marriage end? I think at that time in my late 20s, early 30s, I wanted to change him. He wanted to change me. Now that I'm in my 40s, I don't want to change the person, but I do want to know what I can change about myself to make myself better and make the relationship better when I do meet that person.
Well, I have news for you. That was available to you back then.
Right, that's true. It was, but I wasn't ready for
You
it.
just weren't ready. That's exactly right. That's
Exactly.
It's funny you should talk about that because I know Steve knows this, that I've just, well, the last couple of years met up with somebody that I met when I was 15 and then
Wow.
met again 10 years later and then met again on my wedding day to another man. And then 2 years later, we came back into contact with each other. But the funniest thing is he was 3 minutes away from me and lived 2 minutes away from me. And it
Wow.
was like this whole thing came together. So now we've been kind of seeing each other. And it's been difficult, but not difficult. And you're absolutely right. It's a reflection of me. When something goes on and something happens, that's a reflection of me and him that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And I recognize that. So I think he recognizes it too, because we seem to be very, 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 very close, but we have these little things, and we have to sort of sort them out. But we are sorting them out, and they're working really very well, because we always have that connection. There's always that connection, and we can't seem to let that go. It's quite amazing. So when you talk about flames, I immediately thought, wow, what is this flame thing?
Yeah,
And
you have to look it up.
yeah, what it's all about. And it's kind of what it is. It's kind of this little thing that's going on. And we're taking our time now. And I think that's the greatest thing to do, is take your time. Don't rush into it.
And I think the universe does that for us, because at the time when you knew him when you were young, what you said, 15, you met
Yeah, I
him?
was 15, he was 17.
Okay, so now the universe brought it back full circle, because you're at a different point in your life. He's at a different point, and that's the whole thing about twin flames. And what I love is that it's all about spiritual growth, spiritual enlightenment, and you both have to go on your own path to grow. And sometimes you can't grow together. You have to grow individually, and then you have to come back. You can come back together. Now, Steve, I have to debate with you on something.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
I am so ready.
Okay, you ready? So what
Come
you
on, Steve.
said about relationships, if they're hard work, then they might not be a good relationship, because it should happen easily. And I beg to differ, because I think that, I don't say you should be fighting all the time, but I think that in order to grow to your the higher being, or to raise your level of conscious awareness to the point where you want to be in a great relationship, you kind of have to push each other and grow with each other. But also, if it's too easy, I don't think there could be a lot of growth. I think it's got to be a little bit where it's not so easy. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the truth.
Go ahead.
The truth is about self-love is it's extraordinarily challenging work, because you have to look at you have to look at your own likes and dislikes, but your own truths and how they differ perhaps from the world around you, and you have to love yourself and respect yourself enough to say, this is what's true for me. And people who have had gender issues or whatever issues, political issues or religious issues, and say, this doesn't work for me. This is who I am. That's huge struggle.
Well,
and
can I just take that one step further,
Sure.
which we haven't talked about, and that is our guidance system that was given to us, by whoever designed us, and that's our emotions. Our emotions, I mean, I am more tuned into my emotions than I have ever been. And I understand now why I have them, because it's telling me, it's my guidance system.
Yes.
It's telling me when I'm going towards what I want and what I desire, and it's telling me when I don't.
Yes. Very, very well said. Yeah.
Right.
And in the field of coaching, one of the most important question is, what is it you want? So when you say, what do I want, or my highest desire, that can be, I just want to not feel bad. I just don't want to feel alone, or I really want that sense of fulfillment.
That's all moving away, though. As soon as you said those two sentences, that's moving away from me.
I get that from a higher spiritual perspective, but the people, Lisa, that you were talking about that don't perhaps have any spiritual foundation or have very little sense of consciousness, they don't have a sense of that. So all they want to do is move away from what feels scary and uncomfortable.
Right.
Rather than facing it.
Just stop the fear, just stop the loneliness, just stop the longing, stop the discomfort. And that may be as good as it gets for this time around for those people.
And that's, I guess, what I was trying to say to Steve earlier, and getting back to the whole twin flame theory, is when these twin flames are brought together, they bring out sometimes the painful stuff that's so deep inside of their soul that they don't want to come out, but because they're a reflection of one another, each other's soul, they bring out stuff that they've been burying in there. Their pain from childhood, their pain from the loss of a loved one or a loss of a child, stuff that they want to suppress. These particular relationships are brought together to bring these out. And when the people get uncomfortable in the relationship, they don't want to bring out these bad feelings. They run away and they escape instead of working together and then letting them come out and growing more spiritually and healing themselves while they're healing each other. And then once they can get to that point, that would be a magnificent love to have and share.
So I think I'm ready for a rebuttal.
Okay, I'm ready.
He's been working it. Yeah.
Remember when I was talking about those times when and again, this is being present for me more and more these days. When I was feeling a love, and I respectfully want you to remember those times when you were in love, and please tell me if you had to work at it. Please tell me if anything that you were experiencing that was hurting you, because I don't remember any of that. Matter of fact, I feel that what it's more and more about for me is how do I feel better and better, and how can I love even more than I loved last minute? That's what it's about. So it's not, for me, the work is not working on what's not working. It's working on what's working and making it even better. And that Minon understands.
Yes. 100%. 100%. Yes, I do. And Steve, I am so proud of you that you've got to that point. You have no idea, and I know your life is 100% better. I know that. That's amazing. I just you have. Well, Steve and I go back a long, long time, and we've had ups and downs as of just friends. Well, just friends. Yeah. We've had things. Yeah. And he has rejected a couple of things I've done, and I've rejected a couple of things he's done. It's well both ways. But and now just listening to what he's saying is absolutely amazing. You have no idea, Steve. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you.
Okay, you ready for the rebuttal, Steve?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay.
Do I need to listen to this?
No, actually, it's not a rebuttal. I'm going to give you a scenario. Okay, let's say you meet the woman of your dreams tomorrow, and you start a relationship. You're madly in love. She loves you. You love her. All the great feelings. Everything's great. Then you notice that she's still going through a lot of internal turmoil, and she's not as spiritually enlightened as you. She is spiritually enlightened, but not to the level that you have become now. So now you start trying to help her and you work with her, and it becomes a struggle where instead of her coming towards you and learning from you, she starts pulling away, and then all this friction comes up. Now you're going to try to love her unconditionally and work with her, and then it won't be all roses, peaches, and cream. It might be a little difficult, and that's where the people have to dig deep in order to grow together. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to get across. How would you do that? You would want to work through the struggles. You wouldn't want to just walk away because it's not all great feelings for both of you, right?
Well, I believe in the laws of attraction, and I believe that what comes into my life is what I'm attracting and where I happen to be in the moment. Mm-hmm. And I, if I'm in a relationship and I'm noticing something is happening with my partner, I would support her in any way, shape, and form that I can. And I wouldn't be, first of all, I wouldn't coach her. That's the last thing I would do. Mm-hmm. If she wants coaching, she has to get it somewhere else.
She can call
me. Relationship, because I've made those mistakes where I was trying to be the coach and the know-it-all, and nobody likes to be told, what to do. And I'm noticing this in corporate America just as well. There's this whole culture out there where senior management, people in powerful positions, have set themselves up in a way that they are the parents and their employees are their kids. Mm-hmm. And they tell them what to do, and they think that that's really working. Well, it's working to a certain extent, but it has its limitations. And the company is wondering, I am working on this right now. The company is wondering why is it that they're not growing? Well, they're not growing because they have no clue how to empower their employees or themselves. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why they're not growing.
I want to. Sorry, I don't. I think I wanted to speak to what both of you guys are saying. If I can remember what I'm trying to remember, what I was going to say. That when you talk about, I loved what you were saying, Steve, and in a sense that when you are in that state of love, that's where we could be 98% of the time. We can be in that state of love if we recognize what interferes with us being in that state of love. And sometimes the work is, okay, I find myself not in that state of love or falling away or moving away and catching myself in that.
Yes, I would notice it, yes. And
that's right.
It's in here, not over there with the partner.
That's right. But if most of us, because of our level of lack of maturity, lack of wisdom, we say, hey, Steve, you're doing something that's making me not be in
good.
Love.
Not feel good. Yeah.
As opposed to me going, okay, now, but how am I doing that? That I minimize or deplete my capacity to be love. So if we can see, okay, I'm in love, I am in love, and what ways am I doing that can diminish that love by blaming or seeing fault or whatever that is? That's the biggest practice for me is to say
that conversation can be shifted in a moment.
In a moment. If we bring our awareness to it. If we bring our awareness to it. But we all have that capacity to bring our awareness to it and stop what doesn't work. Stop what takes us away from love. Mm-hmm. And from that spiritual perspective and relationship as a spiritual practice, that is such a huge part of that, right? Is I want to love my partner 100%, and anything that interferes with that, I got to be with, not from their perspective, but from my own.
Right.
And it's really challenging work. But that, to me, is all there is there's love, and then there's stuff that we do that takes us away from love.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things to do is to be able to talk to each other. I mean, to hold something, a resentment, or hold something within you that you don't like about that person, that's not going to help either party. It's going to get worse and worse and manifest and manifest. And I think that the greatest thing that you can ever do in a calm way, in a nice way, to try to address something in the nicest possible way for you to do it. So you get the message across as to what is aggravating you or annoying you, but also you can also do that when somebody's doing something you like. That can also be brought up.
Yeah,
so
that
both
acknowledgement
can be brought
piece.
up. It doesn't always have to be the bad. It can be the, hey, listen, sweetheart, I just love what you just did. And, you know, you go and you give a cuddle up, guess what I'm doing. But you don't always have to be on the aggressive side. It can also be on the love side, and you get that lovely balance that you do know you're both normal. And I think if you address both of them, I think then you have a better understanding that you can talk about the love as well as the ugly things. And I think when you do that, it's not always ugly.
That's right.
Yes, no, it's absolutely right on, you know. But I want to take it just a little bit further up the scale, which is yes, communication is very important. But guess what?
Yeah.
What's even more important is the communication we have inside of our heads.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what needs to be noticed, because that's where we're destroying the relationship is right in between.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't even have to be spoken. All we have to do is think it.
Think it to get it out
And
and
then the next thing
understand
you know, we're manifesting it.
Yeah, that's very
into
true.
something it never was. And most people
Right.
do that. They'll manifest something, and I mean, my husband would suddenly get awfully upset, and I would look at him and like, what's wrong? And I had no idea what was wrong, absolutely. But I used to go up to him and ask him, and I used to say, I will apologize, I will explain it, whatever I need to do, I will do. I said, but I'm not going to do it if you're arguing. I will not do it then, because I might say something I'm going to regret. I know he was already saying lots of things that are more regrettable, but we got rid of those. You know, Steve, I don't take those things on at all. They're not. He's saying them, not me. So always remember another thing is, just because somebody else is having an argument and somebody else is upset and somebody else has got all these problems, does not mean to say you have to take that on.
Beautiful.
You do not have to take that on. You can just ignore it and you can walk out or do something else or come back later, but you don't have to stop.
That's right. This is not mine. This is
it's not mine. It's not my argument. So I'm arguing to somebody. I don't even know what they're mad about. And my husband would do that. And I said, I don't know what's wrong. But when you calm down, I'll come back. I used to walk out of the room.
I think the most important part of a relationship is loving from your spirit and taking the ego out of it. Because too many people have their ego and their pride and pointing the finger and pushing the blame on somebody else. Just love from your spirit. Love as much as you can the other person unconditionally, as much as humanly possible, and get that ego out of there, and I think you would have a great relationship.
But that's what you should have in the first place anyway. If it's anything else, then there's something wrong that has to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's gonna, as again we say the same old word, it's gonna manifest. So it has to have that unconditional love between each other. And if you don't have that, I don't know.
So I think right, and the point of this radio show is to raise people's level of conscious awareness to become
it's
more.
It's actually a TV show.
TV, sorry. TV, right.
TV. Careful.
Sorry, I've been on probably 10 radio shows in the past week. I'm apologizing. I have my own new radio show now, so I'm excited about it.
Oh, great.
Thank you. But anyway, I think that is the main point, is just love from your spirit, and you're right. Everything in life is about spiritual love, healing. Raise your level of conscious awareness. That's what we're here for. That's what my books are for, to educate people on how to love themselves and to be able to love others by being aware and letting go of that silly ego and just living.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of life. Once you stop being afraid of life, everything's going to fall flat on its face. Do not be afraid. Life is for every single soul out there. I don't care who you are. I don't care what color, what religion. I don't care what nationality you are. We are all exactly the same. Some
Yeah.
have more money, some have less, some have this. But we've got to make it, we've got to enjoy our lives, because every minute spent, like we've just had a beautiful hour, an incredible hour, but it's gone. And we've left
Right.
something very, very good behind, I hope. I think we all have. We've left something beautiful behind. And for other people, because we're here to help other people. So we're only here to help whoever's out there so they can have a better life.
Right.
That's what we're doing. That's all we're doing. So
And
I think, just doing that, like, we live in the moment. I mean, I don't
that's
know what's going to happen in
everything.
half an hour. I don't know. I know what happened half an hour ago. I don't know what's going to happen in half an hour now. Something might happen. I don't know.
And that's what they need to do. They need to forget about yesterday.
Yeah.
Don't worry about tomorrow and live for today.
Live
Be
for the
here
moment.
now.
Live in the
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
Which just brings me back to just a reclarification, because it's like my understanding and experience of consciousness, I'm noticing that it's also changing. So when I'm noticing I used to just say consciousness is really just living in the moment. And I want to define it for myself and express it to you and to the viewers. It has changed a bit. And yes, it is living in the moment, but it is, for me now, about the desire that I have. And I can have several desires. Things that I want and things I want to experience. And for me, it's now more and more about paying attention to what's the gap between the desire that I want, because I feel that the desire or the desires that I'm talking about is connected to universal energy. The universe is already ready to give it to me. and I'm going to get it. And the sooner I get it, it's that gap that I've been talking about throughout the show. The gap between what's the conversation I'm having that's keeping me from my desire, and how often I'm turning towards the other direction, and how quickly am I able to turn back around and go towards my desire, to take that gap, whatever that gap is, and make it smaller and smaller to the point where it disappears. And when it disappears, guess what? Fear disappears. I'm noticing that. Oh my God, I have goosebumps right now. Fear, there's no fear. There's no fear. All there is love and the manifestation of my desires. And that, what is more joyful as an experience for a human being than that? I don't know. There could be more. I'm willing for it to be more, but this is all I know right now.
Steve, wait till you start telling people that you have no fear. I've been doing it all my life because I just don't have fear. I just don't. I never have. It doesn't matter. And when you tell people that, they say, oh, and then they start criticizing you. They start saying all these things. You look at them and you listen to them and you think, oh, really, that's not it. That's not, I just don't have any fear. So, Steve, you're going to go through this. If you tell people that, you're going to have another lecture going along with it. But it's a beautiful feeling not to have fear, because fear is only fear itself. That's what fear is.
I'm with you. I have zero fear. I've had zero fear my whole life. I think that's why I've really accomplished anything I set out for. And
Yeah.
Steve, I love what you said, and what I say to everyone out there: let go, let God, let your higher being, your higher power, the universe, whatever it is you believe in, let go and surrender, and the universe will bring exactly what you need, how
Gives
you
you
need it. Everything, right on time.
You truly get everything. You really do, because
Everything.
even if things don't go the way you think they should have gone at that moment, just sit back a little bit, because it'll happen and it'll go exactly the way you want it, but it wasn't supposed to be then, it's supposed to be a little later. But have those patience and have that trust and have no fear. You cannot go wrong. You really can't.
Divine timing is everything.
You have divine timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Divine and divine order.
Which is really not timing. It's not time, because I don't time anything. It's
Right.
not
Divine
timing,
order.
really. It's trust.
Yeah.
There's no time anyway. I mean, we point
Divine
that on the
love.
show every time we do one of these. I mean, our conscious hour is over, and it's for me. This is like, okay, we just spent 2 minutes together,
Yeah.
having that dialogue about relationships, and I'm going like, okay, there's so much more to say, there's so much more to do, but we'll do it next time.
I think the message out there to all the people is that life is not that complicated. You just make it complicated. It's not that complicated. It is not.
Very, very true.
It's not.
And I say that in my book, and I just say, follow your heart, listen to
Mhm.
your soul, and believe in yourself, and it'll all work out.
And
Always does.
trust your wisdom.
Trust, yeah.
Trust your own
Trust.
wisdom above
and
others.
your and your
Defer to no one.
emotions and
And
your
Yes.
trust
emotions
and
they
trust
are there.
and trust others until they prove different.
Yeah.
Until they prove different. Trust them. They'll tip their hand one way or the other. Believe me, they will.
Yeah.
We all do, right? We all do.
No, everybody does. Everybody does.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, this was an awesome show. I am at an owl, or an awe of what we produced here, and
You're on
all of
cloud
this was
nine.
just being produced in the moment. None of this is scripted, and that's what's really beautiful. So, you ladies have touched, moved, and inspired me multiple times on this show. Thank you very much, Lisa, for being on the network again and sharing your wisdom with us about a very important subject, which is relationships. So thank you so much, and thank you for Ninan and Rosie for contributing your love and your soul to the network and to the show. And for everybody else, keep coming back if you were touched, moved, and inspired like I have. keep getting more of this, because this is the smorgasbord
Yeah.
of consciousness. And keep going to YouTube and keep watching our shows. The more you watch them, the more they get to the top 10 list every month, and we publish them at the end of the month. And they get to the top 10, they get to go potentially to public television. Thank you so much. See
Thank
you guys
you.
next time.
Steve, thank you.
Bye.
Lisa.
Thank
Bye, you
you.
guys.
Love you all.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.